And welcome to the latest and greatest from Step Brother Sports, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. You can listen to us anywhere where you find your podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, review, all those other great engagement functions you can do for us. Would really appreciate it on any of the platforms we are on. Just go ahead and smash those like buttons, subscribe away. You can follow me, Chris Maz, on social media platforms at CFMAZ and Shawnee V at SV the Don NHL and on YouTube at Step Brother Sports. We're coming to you on June 23rd. The NBA Finals have now concluded, with the Oklahoma City Thunder being victorious over the Indiana Pacers. And I'm not going to lie, that's probably about all we'll have to say about the NBA this evening. The NHL offseason, though, on the other hand, is about to hit overdrive with the draft and free agency all coming at us in a matter of 1 week's time until it crashes to a very abrupt stopping point, literally. Then we're going to be in the desert of the sports calendar until NFL training camps start to pick up towards the end of July. But we're really excited. We have a returning guest on the show today. Extremely excited to bring him back. So, friend of the show and the should-be Grammy Award winner for his mock draft simulator song, which is providing quality brain rot on the airwaves for all who listen. You can listen to his outstanding work on WGR Sports Radio 550 on Sports Talk Saturday. You know you enjoy that Booty Cheek of the Week segment. And on the Extra Point Show, filling in from time to time. Please give a warm welcome back to the show, Derek Kramer.
Welcome back, kid.
Hey guys, glad to be back. And you mentioned the amount of talk you were going to have about the NBA Finals. I will say I had a lot of fun watching the Indiana Pacers. It's a shame how it ended for them, especially with Halliburton. Dude started on fire.
Yes.
Man hit three.
Oh, that was brutal though.
3 for 3 from deep, and no other Pacer even got to 3 made for the entire game. So I feel like that was a different game if he stays in that one, and possibly Indiana wins it. But I had a lot of fun watching the Pacers themselves in particular. But we'll see what they do moving forward with their offseason, because they're not going to have them all next year with Halliburton. That's tough.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. I mean, like you said, I hate to see him go out that way, but I'm just glad we got a game 7 more than anything, because that's one of the best things in all of sports.
We almost had an incredible game 7 the way it was starting too.
I mean, halftime 1-point game, literally. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, aside from that, I mean, I'm sure all those who prefer the big markets wanting to be part of it next year, they may get their wish, but it was nice to see the little guys get their time to shine this time around.
The little guys got to 16 million, peaked at 19 million.
Right.
For viewership of it. It was the best rated NBA Finals game since 2019.
Hey, so you do love to see that.
Game 7 is always a beautiful thing in sports, and that proves it all the more.
Absolutely.
That's true. It's interesting, yeah. Derek, did you notice to that point, did you see that conversely, the Stanley Cup, it was actually the ratings went down from last year, same 2 teams.
Yeah, and part of it is the same 2 teams. Part of it's also, you could kind of look at it, and the writing was a little bit on the wall, how Florida was playing versus how Edmonton was playing. And you knew that it probably wasn't going to favor it in that sense. Also, the Florida Panthers are not what I would call a good draw, even to a dedicated hockey fan, when it comes to market. And that's nothing of the players' faults. It is the market's fault. And the Panthers are flawed in that sense. Like they can use and tap into the Miami market, but they play like 2 hours away from there in Sunrise, which as a population itself is not one that is going to show the dedicated amount in sheer numbers. For example, if they were to play in Miami. But, Miami obviously oftentimes shows it's a poor sports market, even for teams that are good.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I think it was Mike Bunt of Trainwreck Sports who posted the stat of the market share for the Stanley Cup final in that area, Sunrise, Florida, and just around that greater region was smaller for their viewership than the Bandits got for their championship game in Game 3. So, I mean, like, that goes to show you that it's just as much as like those fans there in that arena and those who were the diehards, that's great to see them get rewarded for that. But at the same time, like, I've talked about this with Sean and a couple other family members as well. Like, it's not good for the game when the same type of market is winning. Like you saw Tampa Bay even before the Panthers were on their run. It's like the Eastern Conference for the last 5 years now. It's either Tampa Bay or the Florida Panthers, just
6.
representing the East. Oh yeah, 6. You're right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally forgot about that other one, the COVID bubble one. But yeah, but man, again, just like we were talking about with the NBA. I mean, I hope that the NHL gets like the market that would be more worthy of it. Like, I mean, not to be obviously clearly biased, of course, but if Buffalo was in the Stanley Cup final, or even just let alone making like a conference final, I mean, I feel like they would set viewership records like the Bills do for the NFL for most of the time that they're even aired.
Exactly. And we'll talk a lot about the Sabres. I know we will. I'm trying something different this year with them for this offseason. We'll see how this campaign goes. More or less just to try to avoid saying the same old thing about this team. So we'll talk about that, obviously, when you guys are good and ready to. But, yeah, when it comes to the final and the Florida thing, like, I'm wondering how this offseason does for this state tax narrative. And depending on player movements, contracts, and everything else of the sort, we could see a shift to more extreme about that whole narrative and everything like that. And if the NHL does actually have a problem or not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's clearly been like a talking point for the number of years now with their collective bargaining agreement. I think they have like a couple of years before they're up again to discuss what that could look like going forward. So, I mean, and also Gary Bettman's not getting any younger here. And a lot of people have been curious when his last run will be, for how long he'll be in for his tenure. But I'm honestly just kind of curious who they'd even have like after he leaves, essentially.
Right.
But still, a lot of questions with that. But at the same time, Derek, again, how are you? It's been a few months since we've talked to you since then. How's life been for you lately? Anything new and exciting? And also, like we were talking about off camera before we hit live, we're well aware that the 11-day power play is underway, and you are a part of it. So please give an awesome plug to that great annual event and tell us a little bit more about things that have been going on for you.
I mean, personally, not much has changed. So that part we can just kind of brush that one aside. There's nothing really going on there. But yeah, no, outside of like the Pacific Northwest, wherever you are this week, it's hot out, and great timing for the 11-day power play in Buffalo to be going on. For those that do not know, it's in Buffalo, New York, 11 straight days. There are people playing hockey all throughout at Harbor Center, and proceeds go to Roswell Park, Make-A-Wish Western New York, Camp Good Days, and Oshai Children's Hospital. So 4 great cancer programs, cancer treatment programs, and even just the emotional side of things for along the ways of Make-A-Wish and Camp Good Days. But everyone, there's always going to be someone playing over the next 11 days. It started Wednesday, so we're going on through all the way until Sunday. Once the 11 days done, by the way, my favorite thing is Sabres development camp right away, because the draft has just concluded. You get these players in, let the coaches get their first look at the new kids. But me, I'm playing Thursday night and Friday night. Those shifts, you are out there for 3 hours at a time. So it is meant to be a physical challenge. It's meant to be something. When they opened it up as what they call the community shift, it originally started as a record-setting game that was 11 days long, and now they opened it up to the community in Buffalo, and it's year 9 of the event, combined between the record setter and the community shift. We even saw Sabres players like Alex Tuck or Ryan McLeod taking part in these things. McLeod was there a couple days ago with Jack Quinn, Jacob Bryson, and former Sabre who just got traded to Ottawa, Dennis Gilbert, who leads one of the teams for the 11-day power play, as he is, a local member here. So those guys get out on the ice, and then you've got players like me who are bad at hockey. But, the skill doesn't matter. The cause does. And unfortunately, everybody knows somebody who has been affected by cancer, and you do what you can to fight. And I'm happy that I can even make a modicum of a difference in people's lives like that. So it'll be fun. It'll be a grind, because I'm Thursday night with Team WGR. We'll have members of the station playing along with us, where it'll be the likes of me, Sneaky Joe DiBiase from the morning show, Owen Parker, Giant Goalie Son, Josh Schmidt, the morning show producer. So we got a couple of names in there that, and a couple of people from our sister station at WBEN, like Brayton Wilson, Trevor Hauer, those guys out there we'll all be out there Thursday night at 6 p.m. So if you want to make fun of us, head down to Harbor Center and find a way to escape the heat. It's a great way to do so. And then I'm back on Friday night at 9 p.m. So it'll be legitimately 24 hours between me having my skates on the ice for 3 hours at a time.
So Godspeed to you, man. But hey, it's all for a great cause. We appreciate all of you guys doing that for not only the shift that you're doing, but for everyone involved. Again, like you said before, so many of us have been impacted by cancer in so many ways. And the fact that we have just this regularly occurring event in Western New York, or rather for you guys who are still in Western New York, of course, I mean, there's no better way to go out and support just an amazing cause. Just go out and watch the guys play. And hey, like Derek was saying before, you might even see a few Sabres players while you're at it.
Yeah, and I do know the closing ceremonies, which are this upcoming Sunday. The top 3 fundraising teams, they play against members of Sabres alumni, as well as there might be a couple of current Sabres that join them alongside this year. We don't know. We're going to find all that out together. I'm not on one of those top fundraising teams, but I know somebody who is, and I can't wait to go and heckle him on Sunday.
Hey, like we were saying before, all for a good cause. Let the heckling continue and just go on, all for good things. So thanks for sharing that, Derek. So again, the 11-day power play, definitely check that out, folks, if you are in the Western New York area.
Even if you're not in the area and you wish to donate to the cause, 11daypowerplay.com. You can look for players. If you know somebody, for example, you can search a player page, donate to their page, and make a bit of a difference. Like I said, it's for all proceeds go to Roswell Park, Camp Good Days, Make-A-Wish Western New York, and Oshai Children's Hospital here in Buffalo, New York.
Excellent.
That's amazing. And Derek, I obviously want to get into the Sabres and this current state of the team and what's going on. But correct me if I'm wrong. This is not your first year doing this, right? It's been a couple of years. I've
been doing this since 2018 when they opened it up to the community shift and Team WGR. We started taking part of it. I did gain a little bit of infamy in that 2019 year, the second year that we did it, for an obnoxious celebration and a clip from Chopin Bulldog where they were cracking jokes at me for this celebration that made it like 3-2 in the first hour of the shift. So, but I'm playing for 3 hours. There were a decent amount of people out there, and I'm like, you know what? Let's give them a show. So I celebrated Ovechkin style, like over the top. And the two of them roasted me for it, but that's probably my athletic peak. I scored 3 goals that night, and that was fun. That was probably my athletic peak there.
Hey, there you go. Hey, a lot of good things to look back on. Then correct me if I'm wrong. Also, I think also an 11-day power play history of you playing. Was it last year when they were doing, I think, day 2 of the NHL draft? You were like in between shifts. You were on the air, just kind of giving some commentary about things that were happening.
Oddly enough, that one was my idea to get the access equipment so I can just be there because I had played the night before and then I was playing that day during the NHL draft the second day. So I went to my program director, loved that he was able to agree to it. He's like, yeah, absolutely. Because my idea was I don't feel like driving from Amherst to Buffalo in a rush to get ready to play. I want to have ample time to do it. I'm going to be here. I might as well get some guests while I'm down here, talk to people from the 11-day power play. And while we do that, the NHL draft is going on. And I had actually just talked about this with Zach Jones on the nightcap I will never forget when Utah was making a couple of moves. They traded for Sergachev, for example. They got aggressive. And then the Sabres for second rounder for Beck Malenstein happened. And I was so miffed.
Definitely a deflating moment.
But I could not properly express my anger because they were doing player introductions for the shift right before mine. So I'm so mad right now, but nobody's like, I'm not going to do anything about this right now. I can't say anything. I can't express this because everybody's going to start looking at me. And I do not want to take attention away from the opening ceremony or opening introductions for a shift that's about to begin. Those people are getting announced, like how much money they've raised, everything like that. And the roster is being named. And I'm like, I can't start yelling inside here right now. That's not a good idea. I don't want to disrespect them like that. So I'm just going to go and walk away for a bit, Brayton, have fun. So that one was, I got pissed at that trade and could not properly express that frustration.
Well,
Nice.
I mean, we got to see. I mean, due respect, he is an NHL player, doing a lot better than we are. I mean, but we saw
Yes.
the product on the ice from Beck Mallenstein, so that reaction that you elicited was at least somewhat warranted.
The player was fine. The acquisition price was my problem. And it's like, look, if you're going to trade a second round pick, I saw a second rounder being a piece for acquiring Mikhail Sergachev. Why are we using just this to pick up Beck Mallenstein, who's going to probably fit on the fourth line of this team? And he did. So that was the part I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, we made a move, but we overpaid for a player there. And I don't like that. Value is value. I like to see that sort of thing. But yeah, it's an interesting little conundrum sometimes when you look at the team making a move, they make a trade, but at what cost? And sometimes that cost is your sanity.
Yeah, no kidding.
True. Well, Derek, so let's jump into it, man. So when we last spoke, things were pretty grim back at the end of January for the Sabres. They still have been, let's say, bleak. Enter Jarmo Kekalainen being hired as a senior advisor to Kevin Adams. It's been encouraging so far. The Sabres hired their own Dwight Schrute and Eric Stahl being the special assistant to the GM.
Mm-hmm.
No coaching changes have been made, though, yet. So when you kind of look at things, and I did see a stat today that I believe the Sabres and the Leafs are the only two teams remaining that have yet to touch any roster moves, whether it be trades or just any type of pickups in the offseason so far. But what makes you think that this offseason will be different or maybe more optimistic for the Saberhood this summer? And without maybe getting into trades, we'll talk a lot about that next. Can that hope tank get a little bit more full? What do you think?
It's all going to depend. There's a lot of business that they do need to conduct. There's a lot of business they need to take care of. But I think the thing that's holding them up right now is their biggest piece of business. I think that they want to get Bo Byram shifted out of here, and they are not going to do anything else until they get that taken care of. And I know that you have a laundry list of things that you need to do for the Sabres, which is you have RFAs to sign, like JJ Peterka, Ryan McLeod, Jacob Bernard-Docker, Jack Quinn. Those are Devin Levi. Those are contracts you're going to need to take care of. But you can also, depending on the RFA, use just the qualifying offer, and then you can continue those negotiations down the road. Peterka and Levi, you're not going to be able to get away with that. But the others, like even McLeod, I don't know if anyone's signing a contract to him and then doing the Sabres job of negotiating at that point. Because you're not overpaying in terms of money for Ryan McLeod to try to pry him away from the Buffalo Sabres. Like, that's just bad business. You don't see it. And also NHL GMs are often scared of even giving an offer sheet anyway. So slap the qualifying offer on the guys that aren't Peterka and Levi, and you got yourself stuff ready to go. Even Levi, I might even say, probably isn't going to happen. But you could force their hand in terms of their goaltending situation with the contract. But Levi hasn't proven anything in the NHL yet. So you're not going to give up anything, and you're just basically doing the negotiation for the Sabres. So the Bo and Byram deal is the first thing that it looks like they want to take care of, and that is why there's relative inactivity from the Buffalo Sabres. Moving a player like Byram, based on the perception he has around the league, is not an easy thing to do. The perception seems to be better than what Sabres fans are holding him to now, but teams also have analytical staffs. They have their own scouts. This is kind of where, like, sometimes when people say, oh, I would love to see, can get rid of Matthias Samuelsson, trade him for a Dryer. Teams don't want to take on a contract for a player that is bad because they also have eyeballs. That's why the Rasmus Ristolainen trade to Philadelphia still baffles me. That one was, I don't know what the hell Chuck Fletcher was looking at, but it was not good. And then he gets fired subsequently after that. So
yeah, that is why Daniel Briere is now the GM.
That's why he's not there. And that's why like you mentioned Jarmo Kekalainen, and I think he's going to help tie into this hope thing here, Sean, which is the Sabres, for the first time since Terry Pegula took over as an owner of the Buffalo Sabres, have hired somebody with vast experience in the National Hockey League that also comes from no organizational ties. Because you think about the general managers under Terry Pegula. Tim Murray's brought in, right? still very new to everything. He comes through the scouting department side in Ottawa, and his president's Pat LaFontaine, a Sabres tie. Then Jason Bottrell's the general manager, recommended through Pittsburgh, but he's a Buffalo Sabres draft pick. Played with the Americans. Sabres tie-in. Kevin Adams, I don't need to explain much there. Even the coaches, Dan Bilesma and Ralph Kruger, are your ones that are pure outsiders. That's it. That's the list. When it comes to pure outsiders with any sort of experience, Bilesma is probably the other one that you can look at. So Kekalainen being brought in here with decades of NHL front office experience, coming up from scouting all the way through, obviously, as a general manager to Columbus and overseeing their most successful period as a franchise. This is kind of a big deal. They took their time with this search. We even got scared when Lou Lamoriello showed up to get his nexus renewed.
Right, because he just wanted to do it in person.
Guys, yeah. I'd never been more freaking scared in my life. When I saw that Lamoriello was in town, I'm like, no, you can't do this. Not the guy that sunk the Islanders into mediocrity. Oh, that's better than where the Sabres are. No, you're still spinning tires. It's just in a higher place.
Would have made them offensive to watch.
Ever, so.
I don't need them to turn into the Pittsburgh Steelers of hockey. Thank you very much.
It'd be like Matt Canada running the show as well. Joe.
Right.
Just to bring some PTSD back for any Yinzers following us and watching us. So.
I was more or less just like, no, do not hire Lou Lamoriello. And then cackled when I found out, like everyone else, that he was just renewing his nexus. He wasn't here for anything about the job. And I'm like, that's great. Also, respectfully, that is a boss level boomer move.
Yeah.
Oh,
flying into a city that's a border city just to get your nexus renewed. That's awesome. It's peak.
You wonder if he flew in like first class just to do it and everything like that, just because he wanted to make a day out of it. Who knows? I mean, maybe that's just
take a day,
just his way to like
take
get out.
Life, have fun in Buffalo.
Yeah, before it got ridiculously hot out and uncomfortable for everybody, like it is like today and these last few days. But yeah, I think we can all give a collective sigh of relief that Lou Lamoriello is not the senior advisor to Kevin Adams in this case.
But they took their time on this, and I respect that they took their time on this because also remember the Lindy Ruff and Kevin Adams hires, and even Don Granato, they didn't take much time on those.
For sure, and you heard nothing out of the Sabres as well. Like Elliot Friedman, I remember on 32 Thoughts was very like he didn't give a lot of bits of information to, and he's one of the most plugged in insiders in the NHL, and even he didn't know what was going to be the case for their senior advisor, other than say they are still conducting their search. And then when Kekalainen came out, I know he was also a candidate for the Islanders' vacant GM position. I mean, once that hat fell, that gave him the green light to take the position in Buffalo. So I mean, at the same time, you mentioned how Kekalainen was not tied to the Sabres in any capacity before. I mean, but what's hopeful, like we were talking about, just trying to get more in that hope tank, is that the aggressiveness that he's shown in the past is what gives Sabres fans at least that shred of hope to move forward. Like we talked about this last week with Rachel Lindsay, like the fact that he was able to get Johnny Gaudreau there, RIP, as well as making some of these big, some of these other big moves, like at that deadline when they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning back in the 2019 playoffs. I mean, Matt Duchene, one of Sean's favorites, just bringing that up once more. He's still salty that he's with the Stars a few more years. He can be old when he's done with that contract, though. But still, Kekalainen has the track record for making some bold moves. And, I mean, having that ear in Kevin Adams, in the back of Kevin Adams' head, like you hope it's only going to be fruitful in the long run. But talking about trades once more, Derek.
Before you get to that, I want your guys' opinion on this sort of question, each of you. Mm-hmm. Jarmo Kekalainen. I've got two things here on him. One, do you guys think that he might be the perfect devil on the shoulder for Kevin Adams? Like almost like that Kermit meme or like a Palpatine meme. Do it. He's thinking about making the aggressive ad and he's just right there, just peeking behind his shoulder like, yes, do that. I think you guys can give your take on this, but I think he's the perfect devil on the shoulder for this year for Kevin Adams, and it's a perfect combination.
Yeah, because perfect that is a perfect metaphor, really, Derek, on that. Because Kevin Adams was entirely too gun shy every single year these past few years. I mean, even he laments the fact that he did not do more among in that 13 game winless streak.
Right.
And I mean, the fact that he now has that extra voice. Heck, you even have like we like to insult him. But I mean, hey, he has some cachet as a player and has at least some good positive relationships in the league with Eric Stahl at this point too. I mean, he has those extra voices. And Mike Harrington, I know, reported once the Kekalainen hire was made official that there was maybe potential room for others to be involved with that as well. Now, that obviously has not been announced, nor has the team done anything since then. But still, I love the fact that they are just getting these extra voices. And even if it is the complete antithesis of what Kevin Adams wants to do, despite being like kind of influenced by Terry Pagula, which he often has been because they have what Adams claims is those daily conversations. I mean, I think Kekalainen just having that much more aggressive approach is exactly what the team needs.
Yeah. Just to chime in too, I think I love the fact that we talked about him being bold and him making like some off the wall signing with Johnny Hockey. Nobody expected that. They were like not even a dark horse to sign him at the time. It was just a complete shocker. But some of the trades he's pulled off with high profile players, he kind of brings in that objective perspective that, he doesn't value maybe the Sabres players that the regime that's drafted and developed these guys since they were, 17, 18 years old. He might have a different view on some of these players. And we're at a point that we might have to make an unpopular decision in terms of a trade that might potentially on the offset look like maybe an overpay or whatever it is. Might have to trade a popular player away like a Peterka, but you have to change the makeup of the team, whether it be to get some better forecheckers and grinder type players or two-way players as opposed to all these skill guys. So I think having a guy from a different organization completely has just a different view of players league wide. So I think that's a great thing to have. And to your point, Derek, yeah, I think he needs to be like Kevin. You can't be afraid of just pulling the trigger. You're not married to these guys. You can't be. For 14 years, it hasn't been working, and your 5 years as the GM. So don't be afraid to try something different.
And now comes to my second point, guys. This is a prediction and a question. Win or lose, playoffs or no playoffs next year, I would expect that Kevin Adams is not the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres next year, and that Jarmo Kekalainen is, and that Kevin Adams, no matter what happens this year, ends up the president of hockey operations, because I saw a lot of insight from the Matthew Fairburn article from The Athletic. That was a good deep dive into Adams' relationship with Pagula, and Pagula knowing that he wants somebody in hockey circles that he can trust. And Adams can be that president of hockey operations to run everything from the top and have a general manager in Kekalainen who knows the game at this point and can try to help out with another small market team.
I would agree with that, just because you mentioned the trust that he has, that Kevin Adams has with Terry Pagula. I think that goes hand in hand with what's been being talked about for years now at this point. And Kekalainen, like, he wants that next opportunity as soon as he can get it. And the fact that there would be ideally a vacant GM position where this is a team he'll already have had experience for, I think that would be a shoo-in for him at the very minimum. And if you talked about just how the fact that Kevin Adams won't necessarily be the GM because his contract is expiring, but he won't necessarily get like the axe per se. He'll just get a reassignment of sorts, like you said, to president of hockey operations, which he may very well be better suited to do just based on previous track record, first and foremost. I mean, Kevin Adams has done some good things, but a lot of things that have obviously not only rubbed the fan base the wrong way, but have left a whole lot more to be desired. So that may be a role he's better suited for. I mean, he has management and business experience. I mean, just based on his own academic credentials himself. But at the same time, if you have somebody already in place and ready, I mean, picture this as like a mulligan year for Jarmo Kekalainen to get just to know the team better, to get a better understanding of the players they want to scout and how can they can better equip players like Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson to better equip them, or Owen Power for that matter, to get him the right line mate alongside him. I mean, I think it would be just foolish to not consider that as an option going forward.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think you've said it really well. I was a little surprised. I think at this time a year ago, I was definitely under the impression that if the Sabres didn't make the playoffs, that Kevin was out the door. But Derek, I think you hit the nail on the head. That article that Matt wrote really did shed a lot of light on that trust and that relationship and the stages that it was built up from a ground level floor, up to where it is now. And who knows, Kevin might just be, he doesn't really have maybe the chops of being a GM just in terms of the experience, but he might be an incredible delegator, and could be in that business acumen and things that he have to be better suited to be that president, like you guys said, and that can kind of bring the team together for positive results. So yeah, I'm fine with him, even if they don't make the playoffs, if him staying on. But I think that the writing's on the wall as the GM per se.
And Elliot Friedman kind of hinted at it. Chad DiDomenicis also had something about it, of where this seems like it's going to be a direction that they were looking to move on to this year. They were hoping to do that, but time runs out because the search for the advisory role is taking too long. And so they are now just going ahead with Adams as the GM. And again, Chris, you said it's probably that probationary year, like get to know the team a little bit, get to know the market, understand what you got to work with, understand the assets that you are holding on to, so that you can take over already running on the ground level the next offseason. So I do think that that's something that's going to be important here for the entirety of the Sabres organization and the building there, and also the fan base, because man, you need to give a lot of people something this year to hold on to. And that's the thing, is that like it's hard to talk about this team sometimes because you end up going into that same old with the same old Sabres. They stink. They've continued to stink. But man, it gets old.
Sure does.
It gets old talking about it like that, and you try to find something different and a different angle to talk about them. And as we continue on here, you'll see what I mean by that.
Yeah. I mean, again, we don't mean to beat the dead horse per se, but I mean, these are still great talking points going into the week, of course. We talked about trades already. Some have started to trickle through, and I mean, an aforementioned second-round pick was used on Trevor Zegras earlier today. I mean, what makes you think, like, if that was all it would have taken and maybe something else, that could have been a potential move that, say, Kevin Adams and Jarmo Kekalainen could have done. I mean, in the past, I've spoke very strongly about Trevor Zegras, but I know his value kind of has deteriorated this year, so I wasn't entirely disappointed to see that Zegras was traded to the Flyers. But at the same time, if that was something that maybe it was all it would have taken in the past, when maybe he would have had a bit more value or a little bit more offensive output for a team, like that's something you kind of wish you would have done sooner, especially when he was rumored to be in the trade cycle last offseason. But with that being said, also, it's smokescreen season all around. You hear rumors of, so-and-so team's interested in trying to trade for Bowen Byram. So-and-so team's interested in trying to trade for J.J. Peterka. You hear these lists of teams, whether it's Elliot Friedman, whether it's Dave Pagnotta, whether it's Frank Saravelli, all these insiders just trying to get some of the scoop on this. And you also have other next steps going on for extension-eligible players like Alex Tuck. Now, all these things aside, all these things just kind of happening all at once here. Are there any specific moves you personally would like to see the Sabres pull off? Now, I mean, just like a dream scenario, like whether it's the miracle where, again, Mitch Marner just happens to change his mind on all these rumors of Vegas being the top destination for him, or what is the Elias Pettersson trade still not dead? Anything that just comes to mind where you think it would be like, yes, this is the right move. If we're doing the trade, we're getting the best player back here.
Now you're talking exactly what I've been peddling since the end of the season. First of all, I just want to say this one. I'm getting sick and tired of Frank Saravalli being the only one reporting that J.J. Peterka is as good as gone, because he started it back at the deadline. He's still a Sabre now, and I doubt that the Sabres have any sort of serious conversations in terms of actually trading him, unless it is for what we're going to tie it into, which is the dream scenarios. Thanks to Jason Bottrill, our old friend, my Jason Robertson deal is probably dead. That dream's gone. Stabbed with a bloody knife. Thanks, Bottrill. I hope you continue to stink as a general manager, because, man,
the Kraken's a bad team name. It's bad, and you should feel bad.
Yeah, but it was a great trade that he made. He sent a second and a third to Dallas for Mason Marchment, giving the Stars cap room, and then all but killing the idea of Jason Robertson getting traded at this point, because he signed through this season and he's oddly enough an RFA next year. So there is some team control, but also Dallas's cap balloons after next year anyway. So that dream's dead. Thanks, Bottrell. Really appreciate that. But continue on with dream targets, dream player acquisitions. I've been saying it since the end of the Sabres season. If they can just stock Josh Allen onto a plane and fly out to Toronto and talk to Mitch Marner and just let Josh Allen do the talking, that's probably my business plan when it comes to trying to sign Mitch Marner, because really you don't have much else you can stand on. Marner being a big Bills fan, he would not have to be too far from home, which does seem to matter to him a little bit. But also not having to play in the intense market of Toronto, which does seem to be taking a toll on him at this point. That fan base is very, very heavily soured on him, far more than even Matthews, who's just as much of a ghost as Marner has been in those late games, like Game 6 or Game 7s, in a lot of Toronto's playoff series. Marner's still on the list, and I think that Marner is what I would call the face of the idea. That's pretty much the basis of this. Is, do the Sabres need to successfully sign Mitch Marner? No. Do they need to get their ass out there to Toronto and tell the fan base that we're serious? Yes, because that sends a message. And if you sign him, that sends a bigger message, and it sends asses back into seats. You get a guy like Mitch Marner, that's how you get it done. It's your big move. It's something that you can go ahead. This is not the scoreboard. This is how we win. This is, you signed Mitch Marner. And you can replace that name with other acquisitions. Elias Pettersson, as you mentioned, from Vancouver. Byram seems to be a starting conversation block there. Vancouver seems to be very interested, reportedly, in Bowen Byram. If you follow the rumors, that means there's conversations. Conversations start with Bowen Byram. They could end with him being a part of an Elias Pettersson deal coming the other way as Vancouver looks to start over with a new core. But other than that, I mean, you look at free agency, Aaron Ekblad is going to be out there, and it fills a need for the Sabres. You do need to be careful about cap hit with him, because there is an injury history with Ekblad. And if you lose him for a certain amount of time, am I still seeing Mattias Samuelsson in my top 4 for God knows why? So I need to make sure of that. I would want to make sure that the cap hit is manageable if I sign a player like an Aaron Ekblad. I doubt that you see more than one Panther testing free agency. I think that Marchand and Bennett both find a way back to Florida. I think Florida moves hell and high water to keep Bennett. And I think Bennett might take a pay cut to do so. Marchand is a wild card. It would be effing hilarious if the Sabres signed Brad Marchand. That would be, that's next level hilarity to me.
It would be, but I would also love it. I'm not going.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I remember I felt a little uneasy about, like, if the Sabres were to sign Sam Bennett, I don't know how I'd feel about it, because I hate him as a player. And Jeremy White goes, you'd jump through the glass window, like right over there. Like, so I'm like, you're right. You know what I'm about. I'd be excited because the Sabres did something. I'd be excited because of that. The name I'm looking out for, fingers are crossed that his agent is hell-bent on getting this player to free agency, is Dante Fabro from the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's a right-handed shot. You can give him a significant raise, and he played really, really well next to Zach Werenski this past year.
Yep.
He still has the pedigree, and you put him next to Owen Power, you kind of have a really good duo and a defensively responsible right-handed shot that's not going to break the market.
And, what do you know, a connection to Columbus as well with Yarmo.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part about this is that the Blue Jackets have $39 million of cap. So I think they re-sign whoever the hell they want to. I'm just hoping that Fabro's agent is like, no, we can get more in free agency. Trust me. And I'm hoping that's the case, because that would be too sensible. It makes too much sense for that to be something there. I still am not going to say the Jason Robertson idea, by the way, is fully dead, because you can have interesting conversations with Dallas, including a player that I'm sick of seeing one person report about him, but JJ Peterka is a building piece for a match made in heaven. I talked with Travis Yost of TSN a couple weeks ago, so this was before the Marchment trade.
I believe that was on one of your Sports Talk Saturdays, correct?
It
I think I
was.
listened to that segment. It was great.
And Travis filled my head with dreams on that one because he said it was a match made in heaven. The Sabres would be able to dish Peterka to Dallas, who needs a cheaper top six option because they've got their big money put into Mikko Rantanen at the forward core. And then Buffalo gets Jason Robertson. I don't know how else you call that a win other than just having to say those words. I think the Sabres, thanks to Kekalainen's hire, and thanks to the fact that Adams does need to kind of put up or shut up because this might be the last time he's a general manager in the National Hockey League, put up or shut up. You got to make a move. You got to get something nasty in here when it comes to a trade that will really widen the eyes, kind of get the Sabres faithful back into the seats and show you mean business. I'm not saying it's all or nothing, but you definitely need to be involved this offseason. I need to see Terry on a plane getting off on Toronto and going to talk to Mitch Marner. I need to see it because if not, well, then are you really serious at this point? Are you really pulling out all the stops on a presentation? Like I said, throw Josh Allen on a plane, let him do the talking, and let the Bills fan and Mitch Marner follow his heart.
Hey, there you go. And you don't want them to be the end result of that meme or GIF from Succession. You are not serious people. So let's hope that's not the case.
Yeah, no, that's something you definitely don't want.
Hey, Derek, so I did have another one for you. I think actually Sneaky Joe mentioned this. He put out a video on Locked On Sabres, I think maybe yesterday or the day before. How do you feel about for maybe an Owen Power defensive partner in Gavrikov from the Kings? I believe he's also a right shot D, 29 years old. Any thoughts about him? And then part two to that question, you talked about this twice now, Samuelsson. I know Chris and I want him shot into the sun. I'm fine with him leaving the team. Do you think there's a better?
I do like your trade for a dryer, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, do you so with that said, do you think there's a better chance of him getting bought out? Or do you think that someone will give a fourth-round pick or something of value that they pull the trigger on? What do you think is more likely to happen?
All right, so first Gavrikov. Vladislav Gavrikov is probably going to be the most pricey right-handed shot defenseman in free agency. It's kind of why I'm like, fingers crossed, please, Columbus, do not sign Fabro, because everyone's going to go after Gavrikov, and you can go after Fabro in the shadows, probably pay him as much and get just as good of a product. I think Gavrikov's a good player. And I think that if he gets to market, he's going to get a good contract, and I don't think there's going to be an overpay. I don't know if he's like that buyer beware albatross type contract that you're going to see in 4 years. So I do think, that's a good idea if Gavrikov is the player there, because again, right-handed defenseman, the Sabres are very lacking in that department. You'd be able to get that. And the beauty of the Sabres also, when it comes to like needing right-handed defensemen, you don't need two of them. You just need one, because Dahlin can play wherever the hell he wants and play just as effective on either the left or the right side. So that's the beauty of that. You have Rasmus Dahlin. That sentence should be able to carry a lot more weight than it does, sadly. But that's the Sabres for you. You have Rasmus Dahlin. As for Samuelsson, it is however much I could, like, infinity times more likely that you get a trade partner. You cannot convince Terry Pegula to pay Matthias Samuelsson $700,000 for 10 years. That's the buyout calculator on him, especially when you are paying Jeff Skinner on a buyout for the next 5.
And the Jeff Skinner buyout is not going to be as kind to them in the next couple of years.
This year and next year are your real bad hits at $4.4 and $6.4 million respectively, and then $2.4 million over the next 3 years after that. You're going to tell me that I need to pay another player for 10 years? No, I'm sick of paying people to go away. And that is a stinginess financially that I kind of respect at that point from Terry Pegula. I'm sick of paying people to not be here.
Just ask Cody Hodgson.
Yeah, the Cody Hodgson. They just got out of that. So you need to, the cap hit wouldn't be much. It'd only be $700,000. I think it's $714 is the closest total rounded up. But 10 years, that's really annoying. That's really annoying to an owner, and it's really annoying to an owner that doesn't really want to have to keep paying people to not be here in this organization. It is far more likely that you find an old head at a general manager seat that you're able to convince you need Matthias Samuelsson. I think you try to convince Edmonton to do that, or even, hey, do you a favor, swap a bad contract, Jim Nill. You go ahead and grab Matthias Samuelsson here at his $4.2 million cap hit, and we'll take Ilya Lyubushkin for 1 year.
Bring back the Boosh.
Lyubushkin has a contract that I don't think he needed to get, but Jim Nill overpaid for that. Well, how do you help that out? Well, do a little favor. Get a little swap, grab Lyubushkin, get a pick back coming in return or a bottom six forward, and there you go. So there's a couple of realistic options in the way that can be done. Business is business at that point. Edmonton's another team I'd be looking at there saying, try to sell them on. Unfortunately, scouts do have eyeballs, but sometimes the old guard, those that are left, can be susceptible to these kinds of mistakes when it comes to getting a player that's supposed to be seen as a more physical defensive defenseman. And Samuelson's biggest problem is he just doesn't show that physicality all that often, and that's kind of why you look at him and go, maybe it's time you move on. The other team I would look at here, Chicago. Tons of cap space, looking to try to build everything that they need to, and they have so many holes, you could try to sell them on Samuelsson in a sense where you can get something back for that. If a team's high on them for some reason, it's like the Ristolainen trade. Don't give up hope and don't write it off entirely. But yeah, no, trade versus buyout, 1,000%, I'm more leaning toward a trade being the case for Samuelsson there. If he's on the team next year, you better have a plan that keeps him on the bottom pairing, because otherwise it's not going to be pretty.
Right. And let's just say the fan reaction may not be so great either, especially if he's, again, trying to share some line time with Dahlin or Power for that matter. Mm-hmm. With another point on this, Derek, and this will be, we'll try and save you some sanity here. This will be the last point of the Sabres.
I don't mind talking about them, honestly. it's I'm trying to do a different approaches here. It's not that, same old miserable team. No, we're gonna. There's enough names out there this offseason and enough big names out there this offseason. Hey, is it irresponsible to be hopeful? Right. Yes. Do I care?
Hey, we're allowed to dream too.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are allowed to dream. Don't let anybody. We can't let anybody else tell us otherwise. Yes.
Just do it.
Shia LaBeouf style. Exactly. But anyway, first round of the NHL draft this Friday. I know Sean wanted to talk a little bit more about this. I'll let him have it.
Yeah, Derek. So yeah, draft's Friday. Are you on team trade the pick, package it, trade back, keep it, draft best player available? And if so, you don't have to give us a specific person, but are you, if it was me, if I'm picking at 9, I'm probably taking a defenseman, the best defenseman there. What do you think? What's your best strategy for them, at least with the first round pick? And then, any other thoughts you have? Is there any chaos that could ensue with an offer sheet? Do we get offer sheeted? Do we offer sheet somebody else? What do you think? Just to wrap up Sabres talk.
So I'm not team anything with the pick. I don't mind if they use it. Mostly because, guys, of the 3 general managers underneath Terry Pegula's ownership that haven't been Darcy Regier, for example. Actually, I'll include Darcy in this. Of the 4 general managers that's been under Terry Pegula's employ, who do you draft? Who are you trusting to draft the most at Kevin 9th Adams. Overall?
Oh, well, in this case, and Kevin Adams, because he has the track record of getting those top prospects.
Exactly. Zach Benson is a player that started on the NHL roster, and that may say something about the Sabres as much as it does Benson, but he still was a day oneer. JJ Peterka was a second-round pick. Do you know the last time the Sabres hit on a freaking second-round pick? Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Luukkonen was a Botterill pick, but all the Botterill picks in the first round, most of them are gone already. Cousins and Middlestad are no longer on this team. Tim Murray, anything that wasn't second overall, good luck.
Yeah.
And
I don't even think those players are seeing the light of day in anything higher than the AHL.
I mentioned the second round with Peterka. There was a loaded class in 2015, and you swung and missed on 3 second-round picks. Devastating for Tim Murray. It's one of the that's why I always fight between who was worse between Botterill and Murray, because each of them brings a very bad argument to the forefront, and Murray's was drafting, oddly enough, coming from scouting background. So when it comes to 9th overall, I trust Adams with the pick. If they don't trade it, it's because they didn't find an offer that was worth throwing that in there. That said, if you do trade it, it's got to be for a hell of an addition, because that's not a cheap ticket to be waving around as a throw-in. There's also rumblings that the Sabres want to get back into the first round on the later portion of it. So I would expect maybe that means they are more keen to trading 9 in a package, say for Elias Pettersson, Byram 9, something else, and you figure it out from there. That would be a big deal for this team, and that's happily worth investing the 9th overall pick as a piece and a package. And if the Sabres want to get back into the first round, well, there are ways to do that. And that's oddly enough where I think Jack Quinn and Matthias Samuelsson come into play. If you get a team that loves them enough, you might be able to get a late first as part of a package duo, or a little bit more with Samuelsson or Quinn involved in a deal.
Like you said before, there's always the old school, old guard that could be like the I can fix him crowd.
Anyone could do it. New guard, anything. All it takes is one general manager to go, "You're the Sabres. If we can do something with this." Ottawa fans were all over that with Cousins.
Yeah. Yep.
So the last thing, that offer sheet thing.
Yeah.
Oh, the Sabres are way too vulnerable. They are incredibly vulnerable for offer sheets this year. If a team looks at RFAs and looking at the RFA class as a whole, the Sabres probably have 2 of the most, I would say probably, I might even say 3 of the most viable 10 that you can look at, with JJ Peterka, Ryan McLeod, and Bowen Byram. Rossi and Bouchard are probably your other ones that you're like, oh, okay, those are guys, or Matthew Nyes as well. When it comes to guys that are going to be RFAs that you would go, man, if a team had the stones to do it this year, those are the 6 players, and 3 of them are Sabres.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not going to say it's a non-zero chance that it happens this year, especially because you know that Kevin Adams, like, historically has not been an aggressive general manager. Do you fear retribution from the Sabres?
No.
But that's what you got to do it smart. You got to do it smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to be smart if you're going to do the offer sheet, because otherwise you're just doing negotiations for the Sabres, and they just go, we're matching this. JJ Peterka is going to be one that is very interesting in this sense, because if you sign him to a short-term deal, for example, you have to hit a cap number that allows you to use your picks. That's the thing about the NHL's offer sheet system, is you have to have your picks on staff to do that. If you don't, you have to hit a certain threshold number outside of that. And sometimes that might just be easy. If JJ Peterka gets close to double digits, you're threatening on the 4 firsts territory. And I think the Sabres might just say, yeah, we weren't going to sign him for $11 million. Peace.
Right.
We hate that.
That's one you'd take, honestly, like that'd be a highway robbery that the Sabres would happily do. So
yeah, and no GM is going to do that. But if you go longer term, if you're Peterka and Alan Walsh, if JJ really doesn't want to be in Buffalo long term, why would you sign a contract that the Sabres could just potentially match?
Right.
So it's very tricky. There's a non-zero chance because of the caliber of players that Buffalo have at RFA. But I don't think it's still the NHL at the end of the day. Yeah, like we saw one last year. We saw the back and forth between the Canadiens and the Hurricanes. But Carolina regrets that ultimately. The vindictiveness and the pettiness, it actually came back to bite them, because now you still need to add a star player. And for some reason, you gave Jesperi Kotkaniemi a bloated contract simply out of revenge.
Yeah.
So I love that take right there, because Kotkaniemi, I mean, he's considered to be still like one of their all-time elite players, like in the eyes of Hurricanes fans and those who cover the team. I have a close friend who would probably say that, who was just a diehard. I mean, he followed with them when they were the Whalers, so like he goes back on them. But like he would be high on a player like that. But still, like the fact that Mikko Rantanen came and went as fast as he did, I mean, it goes to show you just how things have gone in Carolina this year.
Yeah, and Kotkaniemi making 4.8 until, what is this, 2030. He has not lived up to even that contract on a per year cap hit. So, yeah, Carolina might be a cautionary tale at that point. If you need more reasons to spook general managers from using offer sheets, you just look at that.
They are loaded with cap space as well this year, which is why they're also in the Mitch Marner sweepstakes as well.
And that's interesting because we hear about how Marner didn't waive a no move clause as they were going to get Rantanen from Carolina, but Marner also, his wife just had a child. So it was more timing than interest in going to Carolina at that point. So maybe Carolina is in on Marner, though I am interested to see how a star player like Marner plays in Rob Brindamore's system, where how often do we see top point producers from Carolina under Brindamore? He has a system that is very much
style, except it's
pesky
not
defensive style
and not offensive like the Islanders.
Yes, and but yeah, like I'm very interested about Carolina, what they do, because their general manager clearly sees we need star talent. And then Mikko Rantanen last year, great season that he's having. He's playing great in Colorado. He gets traded. Marty Necas was actively looking to get out of there. He shows up to Carolina, a total dud, goes to Dallas, lights it back on fire. So, yeah, I don't know what it is about Carolina at this point, being allergic to elite offensive talent, but here we are.
So, a lot of good stuff there on the Sabres and the NHL as a whole there, Derek. But now to kind of give us a little bit more of a smile on our face, because we're going to talk about something a little bit more pleasant in the Bills. Yes, they are done with OTAs, and we are in the absolute dead of the NFL offseason, which is kind of great because that is a machine that does not stop very often. But countdown to training camp is on, essentially. Dates are announced. Everybody's fired up. I mean, our sister just texted Sean and I earlier that they got tickets for the first day. First day. So hard to get. So shout out to Kelly and E-Man for getting those first day tickets. Hope they have a blast. But again, St. John Fisher, it's looking to be a little bit more of a pivotal time there than in previous years because of all the new faces on the defense. There's going to be a lot of really great positional battles going on here. So in your eyes, especially on the defensive side, of course, I mean, of course, there's going to be some on the offense as well. But on the defensive side, what positional battles really stand out to you? And who do you think will be the most pivotal position of these battles going forward?
All right. So you said you wanted to have fun with this. I'm about to say something that's going to be kind of mean.
Fire away.
Don't be surprised if Trey White gets cut.
Ooh, yeah, that would be rough. Yeah,
everyone's happy that he's back. But Trey White was kind of more of the, in case we don't get the corners we like in the draft, we've got Tre'Davious White. I will not be surprised if he does not make this team or the Bills give him an opportunity to try to start somewhere else like they did last year when they released him.
Right.
So,
I mean, he just get a decent contract. It's like, what, 6.125, something of that nature?
Yeah. But don't be surprised if we have to see the Bills twist the knife on the fan base again about Tre'Davious White. Because if Hairston plays to the pedigree that he has, I would imagine there's going to be leaning toward the long-term investment over Tre'Davious White. And would you really worry about Tre'Davious White being cornerback 3 or 4 on this depth chart? If he doesn't play special teams, he's not going to fit in at this point. And it's kind of like the Kaiir Elam situation where he's either dressed or is dressed and starting because of an injury, or he's in the press box. Well, on the sidelines, but he doesn't have a jersey. And I think that they would want Tre'Davious White to fare better than that. They know he deserves better, and they would release him again instead of giving him that fate. And the reason I say that is also because I really like Dorian Strong, the 6th-round pick out of Virginia Tech.
Me too.
I think that he is I think Brandon Beane did it again. The son of a gun drafted a corner in the 1st round and probably got a starter in the 6th. So that's how much I like him. I think he's great. Press man type of corner. If they're going to lean more toward man coverage in Bobby Babbich's system, that's a great depth piece to have, who also gladly and happily plays special teams. So Dorian Strong, fantastic when it comes to this. I don't know where Tre'Davious White fits in that case.
I mean, not to mention the fact that age and the injury history is not exactly working in his favor. So I like that pretty bold take there, Derek, just because, again, the fact that, yes, Tre'Davious White did come back this year. I mean, all those good feelings after all the sadness that kind of had taken place last year, where you're just seeing all the old favorites just kind of go just because they've aged out of the team essentially, or just because of injury history. I mean, I truly would be shocked, but now hearing you say that, like, it truly does make sense, because, again, they have the ability to move forward in a much cheaper way to have that cornerback room and that defensive back room as a whole. I mean, the biggest contracts are Taron Johnson and Christian Benford at this point, because the safety room is looking still pretty inexpensive at this point. I know Jordan Hancock, one of the draft picks as well, another corner, but he could also play safety. So that may be another ace in the hole that Brandon Beane pulled off there as well.
I think that Hancock is effectively a Cam Lewis secondary replacement there. A guy who can play both safety and corner. If Lewis isn't doing it, Hancock probably is. And you've got that versatile player once again. If Lewis, for example, isn't capable of what he's been doing over the past couple of years, which is being at minimum replacement level player at the back end. That said, I don't know necessarily if it's easy to say that you might see Tre'Davious White out the door, but also it's because of the fact that I think the Bills respect and want the best for him. They are an organization that they try to treat the players well on their way out, and you can always come back anytime. Look at Jordan Phillips. So, I think that corner is something to really look at here. And also, you mentioned safety. Cole Bishop absolutely has to make sure he wins this camp battle, because otherwise, when it comes to even his career, you're probably seeing the team move on after 2 years in the National Football League, and you're showing not enough to be trusted with the starting spot.
Not to mention stay healthy, because last year the injury derailed his progress immediately.
Yeah, and second round pick.
He's a high invested pick, but you can also move on very quickly from that sort of thing, because they are cheaper to move on from. Sure. If you don't show it, if you don't put up or shut up in this moment, and it's not fair to a player in the second year to be like, your career might already as a starter be called into question, at least for the team that drafted you. Tell me right now that any Bills fan is comfortable with having the same safety starting tandem as they did last year.
Yeah, man, I love Hamlin, but I prefer to him not to have to be on the field and in a starting.
He's an outstanding special teamer. I mean, I love his story. I love his ability to fight back from everything that he did. But his days as a starter should not be seen on the Bills going forward. I mean, just me personally, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who shares that sentiment.
When you are a replacement level or below replacement level type player, you often hope that there is a replacement.
Right. Just purely athletic, profile. He's just not. He doesn't have that recovery speed. I like what you said too, Derek. You talked about Hancock. You talk about him compared to Cam Lewis. Hancock ran a 4.3. I believe he was the guy from Ohio State. He is a very good athlete that can play safety and play slot corner. So I think he ends up maybe taking Cam Lewis's job. Although he's got to obviously learn the system, but he's got that athletic profile to, that we're really going for speed, size. And that seems like what the new regime right now is doing. It's kind of a new way of thinking about things. But just real quick on the Trey White point, I want to ask you about a little bit more about the season itself. I don't want to see Trey White leave, because I think he still has a lot of value as a player coach, and he's another year removed away from his injury. So hopefully he can, look really good in camp. And, we could do worse by having Trey White as your number 3 or number 4 corner. He's got to get a ring, man. I think this is the year that the Bills are really going to challenge for a ring. They have the most complete defense, at least depth-wise, that we've had in the Josh Allen era, I think, this season coming up. So I would hate to see him leave and then the Bills win a ring and him not be here for it. That would just kind of break my heart. But anyway, moving on. So last season in the current stadium for the Bills, covering the team gives you probably a different experience going there. And we have a lot of friends in the media that sit up in the press box and whatnot. But, what were some of your fondest memories, either covering the team with WGR or even going as a fan, like when we were younger?
So the last thing on the Trey White thing, it really is kind of evil of me to say this. Sometimes life's not fair. So if the Bills were to release White, who looked good in Baltimore, by the way, he was very good with the Ravens last year when he got traded from the Rams. It was obviously LA was not a good fit for him, apparently. And that's why like everyone's seeing him and it was like, oh, it's tough to watch him struggle right now. But then he looked good with Baltimore. And he did his service by being the patsy on a terrible PI call. Thank you, Trey White.
But yeah, that was he was guarding Keon Coleman, I think, on that.
Yeah, Coleman just runs over him and hey, you get the DPI flag. What do you mean? So
I think he has like almost like a half foot or 3/4 of a foot to cover on Trey White there with the height disparity.
So yeah, Sean, you're right. Like they could do a lot worse, but also the player could do a lot better in terms of a fit for what he would want to do for the next season. As for the stadium, this is going to be pretty surreal covering it. But in the 8 years that I've been in this building, I have literally been sitting right here every game day, except for one game in 2021. So that game was the game on drugs against the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, great one for me to go to in the 8 years that I've been working here. But that one still absolutely is a hilarious, fantastic time. But outside of that, I don't have a lot of stadium experiences, oddly enough, because I would go to games that are late in the season during the playoff drought.
The cheap ones.
The cheap ones. Exactly. So I don't have a lot when it comes to memories of the stadium itself. It's tough to say that, but at the same time, maybe with a new stadium means press credentials.
Hey, you never know.
That's the hope at that point. But you guys probably have a lot better stories at that point when it comes to the stadium, the memories that you might have from it. Because usually I've been here 12 hours of my day.
I'll say one just kind of off the top of my head. Sean, I believe you came with me to this one when we had season tickets back in high school. We had those corner end zone tickets, I think, like row 30. Yes. Yeah, rock pile. We're sitting right in front of our aunt and uncle because they had the spots right behind us. But it was the game that the Atlanta Falcons came to town, and Ron Mexico signs were everywhere because it was his alter ego. The Ron Mexico signs. I think that was the last time, like when Matt Ryan came, the last time the Falcons had come to Buffalo because they came to Toronto before then. Was when Michael Vick and Ron Mexico were. That was the time for that. I think it was had to have been 2004, 2005 because that was right around our high school heydays there. I remember vividly everybody just shouting and chanting Ron Mexico for Michael Vick.
That's a solid one. I remember a couple Bildo games too. Those were always solid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But I mean, plenty of memories to go from, especially when it comes to just all the years in the stadium. I mean, we've obviously been to a couple games in recent memory too. I think the last game I went to in the stadium was the Chief game last year, where Allen had his game-winning touchdown to seal the deal. That was like, granted, it was a regular season game. Yes, we understand that completely, but just like it was one of those more euphoric moments where you're just kind of just beating down the bully that has gotten you before. But again, it's just another one of those Allen Mahomes clashes that will always be one of like the top billings in the NFL, which is great to see. But hope to go to at least one game this year with that as well.
Home and away. One of each.
Yeah, home. Yeah, hey, you never know.
Atlanta, week 6.
John's going to Atlanta.
Everyone's coming.
People have
already telling me they're coming. So everyone's
there you go.
House.
Hey, prime time game for that one. But to kind of segue a little bit more, again, a lot of good Bills stuff and good memories to look back on, but more so on one of your shows, Derek. So I wanted to bring some attention to, again, the Booty Cheek of the Week segment.
Oh, no.
So for those who don't listen, though, tune in at the end of the first hour on Sports Talk Saturday. You truly will not be disappointed. Be glad you did. But I wanted to ask you, Derek, what goes into the process of picking someone or something so awful they get that dubious distinction of being lambasted by you and your co-host each week on a Sports Talk Saturday? What goes into that?
I think it's because of how ESPN has depreciated in terms of its quality. That's where it really comes from for me. The segment's creation. It had to do with like being irritated at ESPN and also Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was absolutely the first one that we ever did for that a couple of years ago. And it just, I don't know, from there, it's become something where I try to fight against it as little as I am. I try to fight against the style that ESPN has for almost all of their shows. Actually, now I can say all but one of their shows, really. And that would be, pardon the interruption, because Wilbon and Kornheiser are never going to fall for the same ploys that every other show does in that point. NFL Live, I got to give Mina Kimes
timeless and ageless they are.
Yeah. Got to give Mina Kimes and Dan Orlovsky their flowers too, actually. NFL Live is great with those two on that show. But like First Take or anything, quite literally any other show. But most importantly, it's typically First Take or Get Up that have like these awful segments. And it's more about having the takes that go viral. We saw Around the Horn take its last breath in May. And I love that show because of its authenticity. Tony Reale, the journalists there trying to make concise points all the time. That was the show that I loved watching growing up. And I know that you guys probably would agree with that as well.
One of my favorite things, speaking of PTI right there, or excuse me, Around the Horn, sorry. Mm-hmm. Marcel Louis-Jacques, a former Bills media member now with the Dolphins. I mean, he had a couple solid wins on there. And he had, I think, one of my more favorite times where since he won, he got 30 free seconds of airtime to talk about whatever he wanted. I forget exactly what it was. I remember like laughing my behind off at just how well he nailed it. So again, just the originality, like you said on there, just an authenticity you can get from Around the Horn. It's unmatched. Let's see. We got a couple questions here in the Q&A, but I'll let you finish your thought on that, Derek. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was also a pipeline for them. You saw that ESPN was finding a way to get more of Mina Kimes or Pablo Torre or Marcel on there. And those guys and girls, they all found more prominent roles within the company because of their start with Around the Horn. And now ESPN is just about acquisitions and not development. And that's fair. You have the money to do it. But sometimes you like to see a homegrown talent, so to say, at ESPN, starting from something like Around the Horn and going into more prominent shows at that point. But otherwise, now it's just like it's this blowhard attitude. That's where the Booty Cheek of the Week really started from. And again, as little as I am, I'm going to combat it at every step of the way, whether it's the style that I bring on air or even just a little fun gadget bit that we have every week.
Hey, keep fighting the good fight, Derek, just because, again, the ESPN of our era growing up it's long gone, sadly. So, I mean, keep fighting the good fight on that, especially because a lot left to be desired on a lot of the sports talk radio stations, just especially the daytime television. It's just too much, like you said, shock jock, hot take artists on there, which really take away from the fact of a very good spirited sports, whether it's a debate or just conversation in general. So, again, keep up the great work, and also just the music you choose with the OG Nintendo Wii menu. It's just it adds that extra level of humor that, I mean, it just really nails the segment.
Shout out to our former producer for that show, Corey Griswold, because that was his idea when I did a show before a Bills Titans game.
Oh, your favorite.
He played that, and it was this like weird, hilarious little like he played that music when I did like a 30-point segment. Like I wrote 30 different things about why I hate the Tennessee Titans. Played that music, and then I was like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to use that music. So
awesome.
And there's my cohort, Zach Jones, walking by.
So thanks for the little peek behind the curtain there. But we got a couple questions we have from a friend of the show here, Sean's friend Mike Jackson. So Sean, I'll let you take those away.
Yeah, see, MJ asked about what we thought if I think the current group of corners are they aggressive corners?
Yes, these guys absolutely are. And when it comes to Hairston and Strong in particular, they are players that can work man, they can work zone, everything like that. And I love the two picks because of the fact that they're trying to call more man coverage. That's why Rasul Douglas isn't back in Buffalo, is because he's not capable of making that transition. He's a very zone heavy corner. It is a shock that he's still hanging around. I do think that he's good enough to be on a roster, but I think he'll be a post camp signing at this point for somebody.
Or coming up real soon if there is a signing of any kind.
Yep.
So MJ with another one.
We did talk about this real early in the show. MJ wanted to know how we felt about the finals. I said, I'll be honest, I only watched Game 7 all year.
I'll reiterate what I said earlier, Michael, and that is I loved watching the Pacers. They were dramatic, entertaining. They were that team that kind of helped flock the ratings to getting to 16 million and then peaking at 19 million for Game 7. It was this team that was dramatic, this team that they never had any quit in them. The comeback that they have in Game 1 against the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, Tyrese Halliburton doing the choke thing to New York and then having to go into overtime and make sure to back that up. The Pacers were electric to me in a way that I had a lot of fun watching them. The Thunder, I was able to appreciate, though, because of the fact that they were the best team all season from start to finish. And they culminated with a championship. And it's unfortunate the Halliburton injury happened the way that it did because he was starting with the same clutch madness. If he was healthy for that game, if he doesn't tear his Achilles, you are looking at probably the most clutch playoff performance in the NBA's recent history. Yeah. You'd have to actually dig deep at that point probably to look at more clutch performances, probably like starting to go at like Robert Horry or something along those lines to appreciate what Halliburton was doing for Indiana for this postseason. I'm curious to see what they do going forward.
Yeah, we got a couple other questions, Derek. If you got a couple minutes, we got
Yep.
Mr. Mike Aaron, Boston Mike in the house. What are your thoughts on the year's draft picks?
I love that they went defense. It's a great draft to have done it. I do have peers along my station. They wanted to go at least nab some sort of wide receiver in the draft. I thought it was a terrible draft class to do it, honestly. I hated the idea of taking someone outside of the first round at wide receiver because I thought there's no point at that point. Yeah. They're bad. It's a bad draft class, and that's okay. Sometimes the board doesn't fall your way. That's why they end up with Hairston in the first round. Maybe they wanted to go with him all along, but if you were looking at a wide receiver in the first round, it was gone by the time Matthew Golden got taken. So that's pretty much that.
But I agree with you, actually.
Yeah. But if they didn't like him, they didn't like him. And they're totally justified in that term of value to not do it. So that's that. But I love the draft class. You needed to double up in a talented defensive tackle class. TJ Saunders and I don't know why Deion Walker blanked on me there for a second, but he did. But you needed to double dip in that defensive tackle class because it is beef. It is high quality beef. Probably looking at, I don't know, you're looking at Wagyu type level of beef. That was the quality in this draft. So there you go. I do love what they did with their draft class. And then even Dorian Strong, a 6th-round pick that should be seen as an afterthought, I think is a starter in this league.
Love it.
So awesome.
You also have Dalton Kincaid here.
And then this other question he has is kind of linked to it as well. So so Boston Mike asking what kind of Dalton Kincaid is going to show up this year, and is he more Travis Kelce or Sam Laporta?
I think that's you're all good. Cleaning crews here. Typically, people are not here by now. To answer your question there, Mike, about Kincaid, I don't know what version is going to show up this year. I'm not sure because the offense that Joe Brady runs, but also the lack of chemistry with Josh Allen. We can go ahead and safely say this, and it's okay. It's okay to say this. The kid gloves can be off on this. Josh Allen does not do well targeting Dalton Kincaid. The off-percentage throws, or the off-target throws and the percentage on that, that's on Allen. The quarterback needs to be better, and he has publicly said so himself. So I don't know what you get out of Dalton Kincaid this year, to be entirely honest with you. And I don't even think it's close to fair to mention Travis Kelce or Sam Laporta as any sort of comparison for him. I do think that it's just he's got to find out who Dalton Kincaid is, and we're all going to find that out together.
So completely agree. Hey, Jim, thanks again for that comment on YouTube. Yes. And also to clarify in our last episode, for those who are tuning in, he was in Bedford, Virginia, which is not near DC. It is in Lynchburg County, just to make sure we're all clear on that. Yes. But anyway, shout out to the Buffalo Bandits. Yes, a team that should absolutely get some more love, not only in the Western New York area, but in the greater sports realm in and of itself. Hey, they made Pat McAfee for a reason with that awesome goal.
Chase Frazier is, in the nicest way possible, he's a prick. He keeps having these types of goals. And then game 3, I shouldn't love talking about him punching someone in the gonads, but that was hysterical. I understood why. He had his hand stepped on, and then he just falcon punch right to the region. And I'm just like,
oh, just the reaction from just the universal sports world is just spectacular.
The man just goes punching him right in the groin, and it's like, I understand why he did that. Yeah, no, you shouldn't do that, though, man. I get it, but don't do that. And well, obviously he gets the minor for it. 2 minutes, well worth it, as Mighty Ducks once. Yeah, yes. As Gunnar Stahl once said, 2 minutes well worth it.
Hell yeah!
But another one from Jim right here, live from it should say Forest Hill Food Line. That's a region near us in Richmond, right there. So hey, love to see you tuning in on the go there, Jim. Really appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for the questions, everyone. I appreciate that as well. But I have a question for you guys now.
I'd love to hear it. Yes,
you mentioned teasing before this sort of thing. 2 things actually. One, how you feel about the Bills getting Hard Knocks this year?
So I have kind of mixed thoughts on it, only because they're very buttoned up to begin with. I think honestly, straight from the gut, I think it's going to be lame, because they don't want to have anything extra just be added fuel to the fire for other teams. I do think, at least from a positive standpoint, it'll give those who tune into Hard Knocks every year looking for just the chaos, those who root for chaos, I don't think they're going to get as much as that. Yes, obviously the James Cook contract situation is the way it is at the moment, but at the same time, I think they're going to be kind of let down. I mean, we will eat it up just because that's the team that we're following, we're covering, and just enjoying for that matter. But I think just overall, I don't think it's going to be the sexiest thing on TV, just because, again, the Bills have been buttoned up. They've had that reputation for a number of years. And I just think, honestly, it will enjoy it, but I don't know if the greater NFL landscape will.
I'm going the other way, Derek. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's always a shit team. It's going to be the Bills. You have championship aspirations. It's always, they never really get a good team on. And obviously they changed the rules to, figure out how they pick a team to be on there. So they've never wanted to do it. And they've been a playoff team or whatever. So they haven't been in the mix to be on it. But I mean, my main takeaway is going to be, I think the Josh Allen experience is going to be on such a large scale to a national TV audience. We know it, but Josh Allen's obviously a gigantic star. His star is rising. This is going to just elevate it even more to just everybody. And you're going to see it, how he interacts with all his receivers, the handshakes, the training camp. Josh Allen, by the end of his career, he could go right into Hollywood and be a movie star. This is going to help it.
I'd imagine there's a non-zero chance that we get an entire Keon Coleman or Max Harrison episode too. By the way, those two are personalities that are.
It would be electric. Or even just having Harrison just with any conversation he'll have with Trey White.
Yes. So they've got enough fun personalities that I'm with Sean more on this one of I think it's going to be good, mostly because there's enough material on any team to find television that is captivating enough, and more or less that's on those producers. They make that money for that reason. So I'm excited for that, honestly, because there's also stories that you don't know that they always fish out. And that's always something that's fascinating and fun to me. And selfishly, it's something that I get to use when I have to sit here for pregame for a preseason game when I would have no notes.
Oh, that's actually fantastic content for you.
Like that's
right
that's
there.
a godsend this year, actually, for me, having that sort of thing there.
Make sure you all take the preseason pledge, by the way.
Which comes to the second point there. I mentioned like how that's free content for me for preseason games. When you get to the downtime of the season, this is going to be an interesting, like, because I know that this podcast it's young, so you guys, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on what type of conversations you'll have heading into the off season and this 6-week dead zone. That really, thanks to NHL free agency, I guess will turn into like 3 or 4 weeks before training camp has to set off. But it's going to be an interesting time for you guys, and I'm excited to see what you guys think about what type of conversations you might be having.
Well, Derek, thanks for asking that. Yeah, but
Chris,
go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so
go ahead.
We have more. I mean, obviously, this is a Buffalo sports themed show. I mean, that's mainly our listenership, our listener base, but we have other kind of likes and loves for other teams, just based on like our personal affinity for certain ones. Like I've been talking to, and I don't want to give it away who it is, but somebody that's very well known in the Pittsburgh market. We've had Jenna Harner on previous, but somebody that's specific to the Pirates, which happens to be one of our teams that we really like to root for. They're not good, but they have schemes, and where I'm working on something there, and we also are working on a couple former additional Bills players aside from the ones that we've already had on. A very popular one, I might add. I'm trying to pin him down. I'm not going to give any names away, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stuff. I mentioned to you off before the recording about the gambling aspect. We always have a couple different irons in the fire, and Chris does a fantastic job. I give him all the credit for the most part about always getting amazing guests like yourself on. And we're at a point now that we're starting to have repeat guests that we had a great time with. So we'll definitely have some stuff cooking. We won't have a lack of content, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just more or less like it's a mindset sort of thing, because it's always fascinating to get to this time of year, and you as a content creator, it's always going to be like one of those like weird things of like, what do you do? What do you want to do to fill the whole show? And me and my buddy Zach, we talk about this now often enough of like, what are we going to do with the station? When we have to fill in for these shows, how are we going to go about this? And I just wanted to really pick your brains on that for like, and the sake of content creation of, dealing with the off season for the first time, the true off season coming up after NHL free agency gets up and away there. But I think it's more or less like everyone should have a lot of fun with this sort of thing. By the way, I appreciate the kind words. You guys had Ross Tucker on. That's the pantheon of guests. I love talking to Ross. The one time that I got to fill in for Chopin Bulldog, we talked to Ross, and Ross is awesome. He
was very kind and generous. We were very appreciative, and also thank you for that nice compliment, Derek.
Yeah, you guys are booking people to the point where like, I don't need to be putting that pantheon. Let's be real about that. I appreciate you guys, but
in our eyes, you are though. In our mind and our hearts, you are. Okay.
Yeah, but kind of piggyback. Yeah, to kind of piggyback off a little bit. What
your check is in the mail.
Yeah, to piggyback a little bit more of what Sean was saying, to kind of give a little bit more preview. Next week, we're going to have Joe Marino, formerly of the Charging Buffalo. Sean, and I are going to do a little bit more of a deeper dive on what happened after the Sabres free agency first couple of days, how they handled the draft, things of that nature, how to just kind of react to that. That'll be an episode for next week. A couple other things I have in the pipeline for us as well. I've been in touch with a few other outside markets just to kind of get perspective from other teams, whether it's NFL or NHL for that matter, just trying not only like keep it fresh, but just to hear like what other people think, not only of the Buffalo market teams, but just also to hear like what they're thinking going forward for their market. So got a few in the hopper that I'm working on and just trying to make sure that we're keeping those open lines of communication. But again, I really appreciate you asking about that, Derek, because again, it's definitely uncharted territory for us, because there was a time last year where we were just like radio silent for a while because we didn't do an episode for a good period of time. But still, we're excited for what we have down in the pipeline.
Yeah, and it's always a fun challenge, so to say. This is where the souls of a show are kind of made is in this time when there is nothing going on. You try to find the spirit, so to say, of everything that you do, because if you can make something out of nothing, then you can make something out of anything, and that's where the fun begins, quite frankly. So I was interested in your guys' mindsets on this. Also, with Joe Marino next week, ask him about his favorite theme song from a Sega Dreamcast game.
Ooh, okay. All right. I'll be sure to ask.
That's a big Dreamcast guy.
Oh, yeah. We did have one back in the day. So that's good. Awesome.
We got a lot of run from a theme song when Joe worked here for a couple of years that we had too much fun with that. So it'll be good to hear from Joe with you guys as well.
Absolutely. But Derek, just to kind of wrap things up, it's been great once more. So thank you for the kind words, not only from you there, but obviously we want to give you your flowers as well. So give yourself a plug and perhaps maybe tell us some things that you and the WGR team have in the pipeline coming up, or even just some things you yourself have. I know you said you didn't have a whole lot going on just outside of work, but you have the 11-day power play. But what do you guys have in the hopper? Give yourself a plug.
So as I mentioned, the spirit of the off season, we'll find our ways to creating the content that we are going to here, not only just on Sports Talk Saturday, every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WGR 550 or WGR550.com. And I'm filling in often enough right now with the Extra Point Show. That's 10 to noon during the weekdays. When Sal Capacio's off on training camp or if he's on vacation for something, it seems like I'm the one that's getting the shoulder tap at this point. And of course, the 11-day power play, getting through that this week is going to be a challenge, but one that I welcome. I purposely do not work out for the sake of this because it's supposed to be a struggle. A little bit of an act of solidarity for anyone dealing with cancer, because then it's, if they can be dealing with what they're dealing with, I can get through 3 hours of bleeping hockey. Let's go.
The soreness will be worth it.
The soreness, it's not even the fact that it's worth it. It's just, I try to embody it to being a fight, and trying to at least relate in the smallest scale possible. And shout out to one of our friends that, he's dealing with something right now, William Leach. Will is a buddy that Sean and I were in the same class with, and we've known Will for how long, man? And Will's going through brain cancer, and we're trying to do everything that we can to help him out. So shout out to Will Leach. Love you, brother. And everything that we do here, we're doing for you. So, and there's a benefit show for him if you're in Buffalo on Saturday, the 28th at Mr. Goodbar.
Awesome. So you heard that here again first, folks. So for that benefit for Will Leach, June 28th at Mr. Goodbar. So
yeah, pre-sale tickets, I do believe, are $10. So
all right. So make sure you folks keep that on the horizon as well. But folks, thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Derek, of course. As a reminder, we are, again, stoked to be part of this year's MafiaCon at the Seneca One Tower in downtown Buffalo on July 19th. Looking forward to being part of that awesome event with Del Reed and his team. Like we said before, next week we have the show with Joe Marino coming up to kind of cover all things free agency and post-draft for the Sabres in the NHL. So be on the lookout for that. Shawnee V, any last parting thoughts for us while we're here?
Oh, I just want to thank Derek for giving us 90 minutes tonight. Jeez, must rate. So check.
It's like used to this, my friend. Thanks. It's something that you get used to after a while.
Yeah. Well, again, Derek, we appreciate it very much. And folks, to everybody tuning in, thank you so much for checking us out. We hope to see you next time. And as always, let's go Buffalo.
Let's go Buffalo.
Thanks again, guys.